And I want us to take a different route to listen to what has been transpiring over the past few days, including what happened to Raila Odinga sometime last week. His chopper rather was stoned, and this has caused a lot of developments, including some members of parliament that have been asked to go to the DCI in Nakuru, that they have been recording statements and responding to questions. Let's first listen to Raila Odinga's explanation of what really transpired.
Mawe inanyesha kama mvua kwa gari yangu. Inanyesha kama mvua. Sasa nakuja mna hii, nasema kitu gani? Jonathan ananiambia mimi hii ni mawe yote nakuja. Kutoka pale mimi naingia ndani ya ndege. Kienda na ndege naona mtu pale anarusha mwamba kubwa. Amebeba jiwe kubwa anarusha hapo. Kwa ndege mimi naangalia kitu inakuja. Jiwe inakuja na kuna mahali ya kwenda. Inakuja pa! Na mimi nashangaa. Kitu gani? Jamaa walikuwa wanataka kuua sisi. Lakini Mwenyezi Mungu iko. Mbona wewe unataka kuua baba ya nini? Wewe mtoto unataka kuua baba yako ya nini? Kitu gani hii? Si ni shetani?
Ndio jamaa wamepatwa na kasumba. Wakaanza kupiga mzee Raila mawe. Na Raila na mimi na wenzetu tumepigania amani Kenya hii. Kwa hivyo tunasema bila shaka wameshindwa.
And that ordeal has got the attention of the president, who spoke yesterday warning that would those stones landed on Raila Odinga would have been in trouble as a country. Listen.
Sasa kwenda kule kupiga ndege ya baba, unapiga ndege imekufanya nini? Kama kitu ingetokea hapo, hiyo jiwe iwe imeipiga huyo mzee, si hiyo ni moto ungewaka taifa letu la Kenya? Tufanye siasa zetu kwa njia ya utulivu na ya uzima. Tusifanye siasa ya utoto. Tusifanye siasa ya kugombanisha watu. Mimi hata kwetu kule Gatondo Ishaweri, si munaona wanakuja kunitukania kwa mlango yangu. Mimi nawaangalia tu nasema Mungu waacha, mimi sina shida. Kwa sababu mtu ambaye anafikiria ya kwamba matusi ndio itampatia kura, ngoja ataona ashangae. Yeah?
Okay, that's the president. But now there are some 3 lawmakers that have been summoned by the DCI. They were at the Nakuru offices yesterday. We were talking about Oscar Sudi, Caleb Kositanyi, and David Kiplagat, who is the Speaker of Uasin Gishu County. Listen to what they said of their account.
I was not there first of all. Kama hata kungekuwa na mtu ya kuuliza maswali labda mngeuliza governor, kwa sababu yeye ndiye alibeba hawa namna hii kama kuna kitu alisikia. Mimi siwezi panga vita yoyote. Siwezi fikiria hata kwa nukta moja. Na mimi nataka niwaambie watu wa Uasin Gishu, watu wa Eldoret, watu wa Bonde la Ufa na watu wa Kenya, hii mambo yote ni siasa.
This is something that is very sad, that a serious institution that has consumed a lot of taxpayers' money to train members of the DCI and all is now being used as a casual, and even the wazee wa mitas who are not paid any salary can do a better investigation than those fellows. And what we have said as residents of Uasin Gishu, and
okay, so that's the take of those 2 members of parliament. Let me begin with you, Honorable Kira, because you the newest on this panel this morning. What do you make of this? Because yes, I heard the members of parliament say they're not denying that it happened, but they're distancing themselves from whatever transpired. In a different clip, you hear Caleb Kositanyi saying that they are happy with the investigations, what's going on. Then they come to the media and they start talking about the DCA is being used politically against them. What do we trust, and how do we deal with this kind of incidents in this campaign?
Really, what I would wish to say is that we condemn in the strongest terms possible any form of violence, whether against Raila or any of the candidates, be it at the presidential level or any other level for that particular matter. And our party leader has explained very well, and he has been able to apologize to the nation and to all Kenyans that this is not the form of kind of modus operandi that would want to engage as UDA. And let's allow the investigations to go on And I do presume that they are going to be fair, and some of the culprits are going to be netted in the process. And should we really find it that some of the individuals who are involved, we as a party, we are going to take very serious measures against an individual who might have been involved at that particular stage, whether a member of parliament, whether an aspirant, whether an ordinary citizen. We take exception. We do not believe that violence is part of our game.
Mm-hmm. What would that action entail?
It will entail very serious measures. If you are a candidate and or an aspirant and you've been involved in that kind of violence, we have strong measures. We can institute measures including denying somebody a ticket, because we do not believe violence is part of leadership.
Mm-hmm. So how will you tell that? Because already, for instance, the members of parliament that spoke about this and they were summoned by the DCI have spoken about it, and they are questioning the credibility of the DCI. So what information are you doing in what you would call independent investigations?
No, that's their position, but we as a party, we have better network even than the DCI to know exactly what happened on the ground. And we are on top of it. Mm-hmm. We want to get exactly what happened. When was the chopper stoned? How was it able to fly from where it was up to where it landed the next minute? Mm-hmm. Who are the individuals involved? So we do not want really to preempt the kind of investigations done by DCI, mm-hmm. but also we are on top of it. We mm-hmm. want to understand exactly what happened on the ground. I was not there myself.
All right, we'll shortly be listening to what the Deputy President said about that incident. He apologized to Raila Odinga. But Speaker Kagusha, so this ugly head of political violence keeps coming up, especially at such a time. How do you deal with this so that it does not escalate to tensions that may have other connotations beyond just hurling of stones?
I would also want to condemn this kind of incident. And sometimes it's hard to tell what exactly happened because you keep getting different accounts from different people. Mm-hmm. But whatever it is, mm-hmm. I would want to condemn it with the strongest stamp possible. I went to the media myself. I'm on record this time, and also the other time when the Deputy President was stoned in Kisumu. I also am on record. I went to media again and talked about it and condemned it. I condemned this one as well. And I'm very happy because our party leader, His Excellency, the Deputy President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the head of UDA, has also condemned this incident. Mm-hmm. I wish Raila Odinga did the same when Ruto was stoned in Kisumu. I'm one of the people who, even on this platform, who did call him to condemn the incidents. Mm-hmm. Because it is important that we have violence-free elections. And I would also want to ask our government apparatus, the police, the DCI, and any other, including the intelligence, to use all the resources at their disposal to ensure that they bring to books any person who in any way is involved mm-hmm. With this kind of arrangements. Mm-hmm. And instigating violence against other political players. Every Kenyan must be allowed to campaign in areas where they want to, freely, without intimidation, without any violence being meted on them. And so I believe the government has the powers, it has the resources, has the know-how, has the capacity and capability to be able to prevent this kind of violence. Mm-hmm. I would also want to call upon political parties to ensure that they don't also use violence for narrative creating. You know, sometimes some of the political parties or some of the politicians run out of ideas, they run out of steam, mm-hmm. and sometimes what they want to do is to create situations whereby they can be able to, create new, fresh narratives, for them to use. I would also want to say that I hope that is not happening with this case, the Raila Odinga's case. And really, we need to ensure that in the country we are free from violence. I know the young generation are now looking up to politics of ideas and politics with an agenda that are going to help our country to move forward, because we are tired, young people, from being used by politicians in these kind of situations. I have personally said in my area, where I am campaigning in Mukurweini, that we must do clean politics. I must put my ideas and sell my own brand as Kagushia to the people. And any other opponent that is on the table must also do the same, and we must not engage in those petty business and monkey business that is taking our country the wrong direction. And so UDA party is a very orderly party, is a peaceful party, is a party that advocates for tolerance, advocates for people to do their campaigns peacefully. And so, as our deputy chair has said, any person who is found culpable will have to face the music. They will have their ticket withdrawn, their ability to vie on a UDA ticket withdrawn. And so they will not have to worry so much now about...
even if they would appear to be the more popular?
I mean,
it's a political cost you don't
that's
take
the political cost that one must pay.
Okay.
And I must say that we are very serious about that. We are very serious about that. If you come, especially to the team I work with, I have told them that I'm not going to tolerate, including insults on social media. If you campaign for me, you insult my opponent, you stop working with me. I can't tolerate that, because the opponents that we have, for example, are all my elderly. I'm the youngest in the race. I mean, these are my fathers. How do you start insulting my father just because we are in a contest? We must uphold respect.
Okay.
We know for opponents, for our political competitors, and for anyone, tolerance. And I mean, this must be at the very top in our agenda in this country, so that we are peaceful and we are seen to also be peaceful.
Okay, all right, I hear you. Herman, because you've observed several elections in this country, and there are such incidents that come, and one would have thought that with the coming in of a new constitution, new ways of doing things, once upon a time there was building bridges. Do we still have those bridges? I'm not talking about BBI, I'm talking about the bridges so that people can peacefully campaign wherever it is, tolerance. But how do we deal with such kind of incidents that we find now ahead of the election?
I know it is tempting to think and conclude that things are very bad and that those bridges are not there. But the truth, however, Kira will tell you, we've come a long way. There were times when carrying, how would you contest in any constituency unless you had young men with machetes, with rungus, with stones on your pickup? And I mean, we've come a long way. There were places when pangas flying left, right, it was a very normal thing. We've come a long way, partly because the world is changing, partly because we have a more educated, more informed population, partly because of the laws we have put in place, unknown maybe to some people, there are laws that deter people. Partly, and I think majorly because of ICC intervention in 2008. So we've come from a long way, and therefore these incidences must be seen as isolated. Regrettable, but they are isolated. They are spontaneous. I doubt that they are planned, but we must learn things from them and say, for example, why do the police drag their feet? Why? If the DCI and the rest of these people, why can't they give me a job? I'm an old man. I can put these people in. If the politicians were involved, you know, some of these people are actually very stupid people. They even use M-Pesa to send to these boys. I'm telling you, some go to the banks and withdraw money. If you give me a week, if the politicians were involved, I'll give you credible evidence. That's number one. So the police are also not doing a very good job. But even when the police have tried, and they take people before the courts also let us down. So we must be serious. I must also call out the political parties. You are saying, Speaker here is saying that UDA is a serious party. They will not tolerate any of these things. That will include denying people the support to run on their Kenya Kwanza, if investigations indeed lead to them. But there are cases where there was no investigation required. Linturi in Eldoret, that was dynamite. That could burn the country. He's still a candidate in Meru. The stones Moses Kuria threw using his tongue are more vicious than the stones that were thrown at Raila Odinga. But he's still a candidate, so what are you waiting for?
And that is why I'm asking this question, because like Senator Linturi, I think he wasn't formally charged.
It's not a question, I'm not looking at, I have said that.
The case was withdrawn for lack of evidence.
Just a moment,
because,
just a moment. I've already addressed that. I've said sometimes the police fail us in their investigations. Sometimes they do a good job, but the courts fail us. So that I've addressed, and allow me to proceed. And I'm saying, I've addressed the issue of parties. That parties should not lie to us that if these people in Eldoret are found culpable, they will not, because they were still in Turi, and it's not a question of what the court said. And then there is Moses Kuria. Allow me to say something else about the politicians themselves. Politicians must also know they don't belong to themselves. Kipruto Arap Kirwa here is my friend. He belongs to himself and his family. So does Sam, so does that, and me. But the moment you are William Ruto, Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, you don't belong to yourself. Anything happening to you, like Uhuru said, we are all affected. You can ban the country. So they must stop behaving like they belong to themselves. And that's what I'm trying to say, Sam Gituko, is I do not understand how a politician like Raila Odinga can just hop from a funeral, from some political rally, then helicopter to... No, please, let it be an orderly thing. Let it be planned. Let it be programmed. Let security be involved. And as I also ask the security, how does Raila land in a place with 2 policemen? So you see, so also the intelligence must behave the way the intelligence in serious places behave. Where we are now, Sam Gituku, and Kirwa will agree with you, where we are now is where Americans would be immediately after the Democratic Party or the Republican Party has given the country a presidential candidate. Once they say you have won the primaries, you are now, the security is taken over immediately by the Secret Service. That is where Raila is and Ruto.
I thought in
their
Kenya
security
that
must be taken over by the
IBC.
Pardon?
I thought in Kenya that happens once you've been cleared by IBC.
No, but we know you don't need to wait for formalities. This is where we are.
Okay.
Because Uhuru himself, the president himself has said, if anything happened to Raila, in fact, there will be no elections.
Let's listen to what the Deputy President said alongside other leaders about this situation that happened in Uasin Gishu.
Take this opportunity to apologize to the Honorable Raila Odinga for what happened to him yesterday. It was really unfortunate, and I hope those who engaged in this exercise regret what they did. We will roll out the party structures to work with the security agencies so that we can get to the root of this act, which is most unfortunate, and we will demonstrate our commitment to an election that is peaceful.
You can be a fan of a certain politician, but that does not give you license to abuse or even cause violence on other candidates. Uko una kura moja kwa mfuko, kwenda fuata ule mtu unafuata kwenda pigia kura. Pana sumbua watu wengine.
And we urge that the leadership of UDA make sure that that does not find root in our campaigning. You see people insulting one another unnecessarily. So it is important that we exercise political tolerance.
We cannot allow that to be repeated in our county. We have continued to preach peace. We have continued telling the leaders to allow tolerance to anybody who is coming. Whether you belong to your party, you must be able to accommodate your competitor.
And speaking there is the County Commissioner of Uasin Gishu, Stephen Kihara. He spoke last. But Fred, as you reflect on this, look, we've had some of the cases that Herman Manyora here is referring to. The case of Mithika Linturi, the case was withdrawn. It's not clear whether they are going to prefer charges against what he said while in a rally in Eldoret. We have had several cases of what would be alleged incitement to violence, but also, for instance, what happened to Moses Kuria. He was at IBC last week, and the question he was responding to is what he spoke about they assisted the president to steal votes. That's translation from what he said in Swahili. So how do we, because there are challenges that institutions are facing, bringing people to book, how do we clean the political scene, including that suggestion from Kipruto Kirwa about UDA?
Yes, Sam, you know, today as we speak, we have got enough laws to guarantee Kenyans a free, fair election that is free from violence. In fact, our constitution provides for the general principle for electoral system. And one of those principles is that the elections must be free from violence and intimidation. And that's the supreme law. But if you look at some of these things that are happening, while Prof would say that they are isolated cases, they can build up to a very big issue in this country, just like the president said. We have seen verbal attacks in the last 3-4 months that could also be a very serious threat, where opponents call each other names, and their supporters enjoy it and translate the same on social media and in their discussions elsewhere. That must stop. Number two, from where I come from, our coalition political party, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya political party,
quite a mouthful.
We are very, very categorical. Our policy requires that we subject ourselves to Umoja, Undugu, you know, all these things that bring the aspect of unity, Utu, and therefore at no given time can we allow such a thing to happen. We condemn in the strongest terms possible. Because even our objectives and principles alone require that we mobilize people for, you know, elections that are free and fair, and also mobilize people for unity. So, I mean, we have seen politicians, particularly from the yellow fever side, that constantly...
What is yellow fever?
They have used words that are not palatable.
What is yellow fever?
Those words are likely to cause problems in this country. And those words are...
The reason I'm asking this question, I know you have told me, but I'm asking this question because Kipruto Kirwa has not been on the panel.
Agents.
What is yellow fever?
You know, in this country, you are identified by the dominant color of your party. And therefore, there's only one party that has dominant color, which is very lovely and colorful, you know. UDA.
It is called UDA,
yes,
not yellow.
no, I just like their color. So I'm saying, if you look at some of the...
That is talking about...
Some of the... Speaker, 1 minute.
Talking about the name calling.
Some of the issues that we have
paradox.
Seen.
He's talking about name calling, and he is calling names when he's talking about name calling.
Including Speaker Kigusha here, who is telling us that in the team he works with, he would not like them to even... You chase them away if they insult the elderly. But we have seen people in UDA insulting the elderman Raila Odinga. We have seen them. I want to ask Speaker Kiguchia, when he goes back this morning, apply the same principle he's applying in his campaign to tell his colleagues and counterparts in UDA that have been insulting the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Raila Odinga, to stop, because that is what is going to take us to violence. We don't want to see a situation where even the Azimio One Kenya side insulting deputy president. We have said, because we believe in Utu, Undugu, na Umoja, we will not go ahead and insult our competitors. Instead, we shall sell our agenda and idea that we have solidly in our manifesto. That is what we are going to do. But we have seen instances where some are even called before IEBC and they say they want to open servers. They're reawakening the wounds that are past. We don't want to see that.
So Fred, I hear you, but do you think yellow fever is an insult?
No, it is not. Because when you talk about a fever, I'm talking about it in a very good way. Something that is
Fred, please.
Spreading.
Stop over-explaining it. I'll just ask you, for the sake of this show, don't use that term again. It's called UDA.
Okay.
All right?
Well, let me withdraw that statement. I withdraw the yellow fever. But as I withdraw that let me finish. I think it is important to look at this thing in context. In context in the sense that we know politics can be exciting. When politicians get space, they are likely to use words that are not palatable. I know that. But in this instance of stoning Raila Odinga's chopper, while Prof would say it was isolated case, what if tomorrow the people from that region go to the region that belongs to, of the opponent? What will happen? We will now start seeing sporadic violences that we saw in 2007. And that is what we don't want to see. And that's why we are saying in Azimio One Kenya, we condemn that because our coalition political party believes in unity, umoja, undugu.
That's fine. You said that 3 times now, and I get your point clearly. And Honorable Kirwa, as we exit from this conversation, I'd want to hear from you because state agencies, whether it's IBC, NCSC, or DCI, or EACC, they appear to have several challenges in really nailing political aspirants or politicians in things they may have said or done, especially when it comes to clearing candidates. So what is our hope?
Our hope is that we improve good manners in our society, because some of the incidences that you might have seen is a product of our social structure, that we do not tolerate different opinion other than the opinion that we believe in. So my take is that these agencies are as good as the society that we live in, and we hope they are going to go to the bottom of the issue. I do not want to go to specific details, but suffice to say the following. While we condemn the violence that did take place in Eldoret, we also condemn any violence that has taken place and any violent statements, including what our brother here is calling yellow fever, because those are the symptoms of a bigger problem, that you do not tolerate the other opinion, you do not accept that colors are just but an expression of a position as a party. Well, I'm wearing blue, not because I belong to Azimio, but I do not believe that I have to put away all my clothes just because I'm in UDA. I strongly believe that what is important is what is my belief. And this is what we need to encourage Kenyans to move towards by accepting that the next election is not predicted the way he's calling Raila the 50th president. Nothing can be further from the truth, because elections we've not started rolling the elections, and on the 9th of August, the results will be streaming in. Raila may win, he may lose, the way he has lost many other times, but that is not the hallmark of our thinking. What we need to do is whoever wins, we accept him as our next president. And that is the beginning of accepting that this is a competition where there are winners and losers. And even losers, if they take it nicely, this country will make more progress than is the case today.
Okay.